The grab came fast, Brad's hand clamping down on Maya Chen's wrist like he owned her. 3 seconds later, he was on the floor, gasping for air, his buddies staring in disbelief at the petite woman they'd been mocking for the past 10 minutes. The mess hall at Joint Base Lewis McLeod went dead silent. 300 soldiers froze mid-bite watching this 28-year-old supply clerk dismantle 4 combat-trained recruits like they were children playing soldier. But here's what none of them knew, what those 4 boys learned the hardest way possible. Maya Chen wasn't just any soldier. Before we dive into what happened next, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. 20 minutes earlier, Maya had walked through the mess hall doors wanting nothing more than scrambled eggs and 15 minutes of peace. The morning briefing had run long. Her cover assignment in supply logistics required her to sit through endless inventory discussions while her real Delta Force mission churned in the background. She needed fuel and silence in that order. "Table for one, as usual," she muttered to herself, scanning the crowded room with eyes that saw things most soldiers missed. Exit points, potential threats, patterns in movement. Her brain never stopped working even during breakfast. The serving line moved slowly. Maya grabbed a tray, accepted portions from the kitchen staff, who smiled and chatted like she was just another hungry soldier. She kept her responses brief, polite, forgettable. That was the whole point of her cover be invisible blend in Never Stand Out. "Scrambled eggs, ma'am. Please, and bacon if you've got it." "Always do. You have a good day now." Maya nodded, balancing her tray, already plotting her route to the back corner table she preferred. Alone meant safe. Alone meant she could think about the intelligence she'd gathered yesterday, the patterns she was tracking, the mission timeline that was tightening around her like a noose. She sat down back to the wall, facing the room. Old habits. Delta training made them permanent. Across the mess hall, Tyler Morrison was holding court with his buddies, his voice carrying over the general breakfast noise. 20 years old, built like a linebacker, still riding the high of finishing basic training 3 weeks ago. He thought he knew everything about being a soldier now. "I'm telling you guys," Tyler said, gesturing with his fork, "this place is going soft. They're letting anyone wear the uniform these days." Brad Chen, no relation to Maya, leaned in, always eager to prove himself. "What do you mean? Look around. Women everywhere. Taking spots that should go to real soldiers." Rico Martinez, the smallest of the group, but the loudest, laughed too hard at Tyler's comment. "For real. My sister tried to join up last year and I told her straight this ain't the place for you. Go be a nurse or something." Kevin Park pushed his eggs around his plate, uncomfortable but silent. His mother had served in the Army for 12 years before retiring. He knew Tyler was wrong, but saying so felt like social suicide. "Check out that one over there," Tyler said, nodding toward Maya. "Corner table, eating alone like she's too good for everyone." Brad squinted across the room. "She's tiny. What's she, 5'0", probably can't even carry her own pack." "Bet she got in on some diversity quota," Rico added, cracking his knuckles. "No way she earned that uniform." Kevin finally spoke up, his voice quiet. "Guys, maybe we should just what?" Tyler cut him off. "Just let them keep pretending they belong here. Someone needs to teach these girls some respect." Maya caught fragments of their conversation but didn't react. She'd heard it all before during her time at West Point through Ranger School in the nightmare months of Delta selection, where she'd outperformed 70% of the male candidates. Words like these used to sting. Now they were just background noise. She took another bite of eggs, mentally reviewing today's agenda. She needed to make contact with her handler at 1400 hours. There was a shipment coming through the base tonight that required her attention, her real attention, not her cover job attention. The timeline was tight, and she couldn't afford distractions. Tyler stood up his chair, scraping against the floor. "Come on, let's go have a conversation with her." Brad grinned. "Seriously. Dead serious. Time to remind her what the real Navy looks like." They had transferred from Navy to Army joint training, but old habits and attitudes stuck around like bad tattoos. Kevin felt his stomach drop. "Tyler, man, this is a bad idea." "Nobody asked you, Park. You coming or not?" The four of them crossed the mess hall, their boots loud against the polished floor. Other soldiers noticed the movement, conversations trailing off as people sensed something brewing. Maya saw them coming 20 seconds before they arrived. 4 males, early 20s, moving with purpose toward her table. The tall one in front had aggressive body language, chest puffed out, shoulders back, trying to take up maximum space. The shorter Asian guy to his right was compensating for something probably struggled during physical training. The loud one on the left had Street Fighter written all over him, undisciplined, reactive. The last one hung back, slightly conflicted. She set down her fork and waited. Tyler reached her table first, planting both hands on the edge and leaning forward. "Morning, soldier." Maya looked up, her face neutral. "Morning. My buddies and I were just wondering something." His voice dripped with fake politeness. "What's someone like you doing in the Army? Seems like maybe you took a wrong turn at the recruitment office." Around them, the mess hall was getting quieter. Phones were coming out of pockets. This was about to be entertainment. "I'm eating breakfast," Maya said evenly. "Same as you were 5 minutes ago." Brad moved closer, emboldened by Tyler's lead. "See, that's not really what we're asking. What we want to know is why you think you deserve to wear that uniform when there are men who could actually do the job." Maya took a slow breath. De-escalation first. Always try to de-escalate. "I'm not interested in this conversation. I suggest you all head back to your table and finish your breakfast." Rico laughed, too loud, too aggressive. "Oh, she's not interested. Did you hear that? She thinks she gets to tell us what to do." They were spreading out now, surrounding her table. Tyler in front, Brad to the right. Rico moving to her left, Kevin reluctantly completing the circle behind her. Classic intimidation formation. They probably didn't even realize they were doing it, just instinct from basic training pack mentality kicking in. Maya's training kicked into a higher gear. 4 potential hostiles, confined space, multiple witnesses. She ran through scenarios in her head faster than conscious thought. If this went physical, she'd need to control the engagement, minimize injury, and maintain operational security. The last part was already slipping away, too many people watching, too many phones out. "Listen carefully," Maya said, her voice quiet, but carrying that edge of command that came from leading special operations teams through active combat zones. "You're making a mistake. Walk away now, and we'll all forget this happened." Tyler laughed. "You threatening us? There's 4 of us, and 1 of you. Maybe you should be the one walking away. Go find a nice desk job somewhere. Leave the real military work to the men." A female sergeant, 2 tables over, stood up, her face flushed with anger. "Hey, leave her alone." "Mind your business," Rico snapped back. "This is between us and her." The sergeant pulled out her phone, clearly calling for security, but Maya knew they were at least 3 minutes out. 3 minutes was a lifetime in a confrontation like this. Brad reached out his hand, moving toward Maya's shoulder. "Maybe if we—" That's when everything changed. Brad's fingers had just touched her uniform sleeve when Maya moved. She caught his wrist with her left-hand thumb, pressing into the nerve cluster that made his whole arm go numb. Simultaneously, she stood and pivoted, using his own momentum to pull him off balance, while her right elbow drove into his solar plexus with surgical precision, hard enough to empty his lungs, controlled enough to avoid permanent damage. Brad's eyes went wide. He tried to gasp, but couldn't. His knees buckled. The whole sequence took exactly 2.8 seconds. Tyler lunged forward, finally realizing they'd miscalculated badly. You buy... Maya was already moving. She released Brad, who crumpled forward, gasping, and sidestepped Tyler's clumsy grab. Her hand shot out, caught the back of his neck, and she used his own forward momentum to guide him face first into the table edge. Not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough that he saw stars. Rico came at her from the left Street Fighter instinct, taking over arms wide like he was going for a tackle. Maya dropped low, her leg sweeping out in a perfect arc that caught both his ankles. His feet went out from under him, and physics took over. He crashed into an empty table, trays and silverware scattering across the floor with a tremendous clatter. Kevin stood frozen, hands up, eyes huge. I'm sorry. Maya straightened, barely breathing hard, and looked at him. Smart choice. The entire engagement had lasted 43 seconds. The mess hall was absolutely silent. 300 soldiers sat frozen, phones up, recording, unable to process what they'd just witnessed. The petite supply clerk had just dismantled 4 combat-trained recruits, like they were untrained teenagers. Brad was still on his knees, finally managing to pull in shallow, painful breaths. Tyler sat on the floor, holding his nose where it had connected with the table blood trickling between his fingers. Rico lay tangled in overturned chairs, gripping his ankle and groaning. Chief Warrant Officer James Davis, a 22-year Navy veteran who'd been eating his own breakfast 3 tables away, stood up slowly. He'd seen a lot of things in his career: combat in 3 different countries, bar fights in a dozen ports, training accidents that turned deadly. But what he'd just witnessed was something else entirely. Those weren't standard military defensive tactics. That was specialized training, the kind you only got in very specific, very classified programs. He walked over, his voice carrying across the silent mess hall. Everyone back up. Give them some room. The crowd of soldiers shuffled backward, still recording, still staring. Maya remained standing by her table, arms at her sides, breathing, controlled her mind, already racing through the consequences of what had just happened. Her cover was blown. The mission was compromised. Everything she'd built over the past 18 months was unraveling because 4 ignorant recruits couldn't keep their prejudices to themselves. Chief Davis approached carefully, his eyes on Maya's hands, reading her body language with the skill of someone who understood combat. Petty Officer Chen, Maya Chen. Petty Officer Chen, I'm going to need you to come with me to the office. We need to have a conversation about what just happened here. Maya nodded once. Understood, Chief. Brad finally managed to stand, supported by another sailor who'd come to help. His face was pale, one hand still pressed against his stomach. She attacked us, he wheezed. We were just talking to her and she... Shut your mouth, recruit! Chief Davis's voice cracked like a whip. I watched the whole thing. I saw you surround her. I saw you put your hands on her first. You want to add lying to your growing list of problems today. Tyler struggled to his feet, blood still dripping from his nose, his earlier arrogance completely gone. We didn't know she was... He trailed off because he didn't actually know what Maya was. Just that she was way more dangerous than anyone in this room had imagined. Rico was helped up by 2 other sailors, limping badly but not seriously injured. The shame on his face was worse than any physical pain. Around the mess hall, phones were already uploading videos to social media. The incident was going viral even as they stood there. Chief Davis gestured toward the exit. Petty Officer Chen, if you'd come with me, please. The rest of you. He pointed at the 4 recruits. Stay right where you are. Security is on the way, and trust me, you're going to want medical attention before you talk to anyone official. Maya picked up her tray, moved to the disposal area, and calmly scraped her unfinished breakfast into the trash. Even now, even with everything falling apart, she maintained discipline. That's what the training did. It made professionalism automatic. As she walked toward the exit with Chief Davis, the mess hall remained silent. 300 soldiers watched her go, their brains trying to reconcile the quiet, petite woman in the supply uniform with the warrior they'd just seen in action. Someone near the back whispered, "Holy shit, was that real?" "Dude, I got the whole thing on video. That was the most insane thing I've ever seen." "Who is she?" That was the question now spreading through the base faster than wildfire. Who was Maya Chen? Because supply clerks didn't move like that. Supply clerks didn't disable 4 hostile combatants in under a minute with techniques that looked like they came straight out of special operations training manuals. Chief Davis held the door open for Maya, and they stepped out into the bright morning sunlight. The temperature was already climbing, promising another hot day on base. "You want to tell me what that was about?" Davis asked, as they walked toward the admin building. Maya kept her eyes forward. They made assumptions. Those assumptions were incorrect. I could see that much for myself. Davis studied her profile. Those weren't standard defensive techniques, Petty Officer. That was advanced hand-to-hand combat training. Very advanced. Maya said nothing. "Let me guess your official record says you're a supply clerk, maybe some basic combat training from your initial entry course. Nothing special." Still nothing. Davis nodded slowly. "Right. One of those situations. Got it." He'd worked with enough classified personnel to recognize the pattern. "Well, your cover just got blown to hell and back. Those videos are probably already on YouTube." Maya's jaw tightened. She'd known this was coming, but hearing it confirmed still stung. 18 months of careful work, important intelligence gathering, all of it compromised because she'd had to defend herself against 4 idiots who couldn't see past their own prejudices. They reached the admin building and climbed the stairs to Davis's small office. It was neat organized with pictures of his family on the desk and commendations on the wall. 22 years of service represented in plaques and photographs. "Have a seat," Davis said, closing the door behind them. "I'm going to make a pot of coffee because something tells me this is going to be a long conversation." Maya sat in the metal chair across from his desk, her posture straight, hands folded in her lap. Her mind was already 3 steps ahead, thinking through protocols, emergency contacts, damage control procedures. Davis filled the coffee maker with water, measuring out grounds with practiced ease. "So, here's how I see it. 4 recruits fresh out of basic, still full of themselves, decided to harass someone they perceived as weak. They surrounded you, made verbal threats, and then one of them put hands on you first. At that point, you defended yourself using appropriate force to neutralize the threat. Is that a fair assessment?" "Yes, Chief." "And the reason you were able to neutralize 4 combat-trained men in under a minute is because you have specialized training that isn't listed in your official personnel file." Maya met his eyes, but didn't respond. Davis smiled grimly. "Thought so. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to confirm anything classified. I've been around long enough to know when I'm looking at a gray area." He poured 2 cups of coffee, handed one to Maya, and sat down behind his desk. "What I need to know is whether anyone got seriously hurt. Did you break anything? Cause any permanent damage?" "No, Chief. Brad will be sore for a few days, but the strike was controlled. Tyler's nose might be fractured, but it'll heal clean. Rico's ankle is twisted, not sprained, and he'll be fine in a week. I used minimum necessary force." "Minimum necessary force," Davis repeated, impressed, despite himself. Most people in a 4-on-1 situation would have panicked or overreacted. You stayed completely in control. "I was trained to stay in control." The coffee maker beeped. Davis took a long sip, studying Maya over the rim of his cup. "How long have you been on this base?" 18 months. "And in all that time, nobody's noticed that you're significantly more capable than your cover story suggests. I've been careful." "Well, that carefulness just went out the window." "Cha." Davis pulled out his phone, scrolled through social media, and turned the screen toward Maya. "Look at this." The video had been posted 7 minutes ago and already had 15,000 views. It showed the entire confrontation from multiple angles. Different soldiers had captured it from their positions around the mess hall. The comments were exploding. "Holy crap, did you see those moves? That's not basic self-defense, that's professional training. Who is this woman? Those guys got exactly what they deserved. Female empowerment at its finest." Maya's face remained neutral, but inside she felt her carefully constructed cover identity crumbling. Within hours, maybe minutes, someone with the right training would watch this video and identify her techniques. Delta Force had patterned signatures in how operators moved and fought. People who knew what to look for would see it. "I need to make a phone call," Maya said quietly. Davis nodded. "Use my desk phone. I'll step outside, give you some privacy." He left the office, closing the door behind him. Maya stared at the phone for a long moment, then picked up the receiver and dialed a number she'd memorized during her initial training, but hoped she'd never need to use. It was the emergency contact line for blown cover situations. The phone rang twice before a neutral voice answered. "Authentication code. Falcon 7. Emergency protocol. Cover compromise at current posting." There was a pause, the sound of typing. "Stand by Falcon 7. Maya waited, her coffee growing cold in her hand, watching through the office window as Chief Davis stood in the hallway, keeping others away from the door. The voice returned. "Falcon 7, describe the compromise." Physical altercation in public space. Multiple recordings. Specialized techniques were displayed. Viral spread has begun. Estimate less than 6 hours before positive identification by hostile intelligence services. More typing. Maya could imagine the emergency protocols being activated, the secure channels lighting up her handlers, scrambling to contain the damage and adjust operational plans. "Understood, Falcon 7. Maintain current position. A team is being dispatched to your location. ETA 2 hours. You are authorized to reveal cover identity to senior personnel present as needed for security purposes. Do not engage with media. Do not leave base. Acknowledge." "Acknowledged. Falcon 7 standing by." Maya hung up and opened the door. Chief Davis turned around, his expression questioning. "I have people coming," Maya said. "About 2 hours. Until then, I need to stay here and stay quiet." Davis nodded. "I figured as much. Come on back in. We can wait together." They returned to his office. Maya sat back down, her coffee untouched. The adrenaline from the confrontation was wearing off, leaving behind the cold reality of what this meant for her mission, her career, her life. Everything had changed in 43 seconds. Outside the window, she could see soldiers walking past, many of them on their phones, probably watching the videos, spreading the story. By lunchtime, the entire base would know. By dinner, it would be national news. By tomorrow, international. Her face would be everywhere. The woman who took down 4 men in the mess hall. The mystery soldier with the incredible combat skills. Every intelligence service in the world would be trying to identify her, connect her to operations, compromise other missions. Chief Davis broke the silence. "For what it's worth, those kids had it coming. I've seen that kind of harassment before, and it never ends well. At least this time someone was actually capable of defending themselves." Maya almost smiled. "They thought I was easy. Yeah, well, they learned different. 45 seconds later, the whole mess hall went silent." Davis shook his head. "I've been in the military for 22 years, and I have never seen anything quite like that. You should be proud of yourself." "Pride isn't really the emotion I'm feeling right now, Chief." "No, I suppose not. A lot of complications ahead." "A lot of complications," Maya agreed. They sat in silence, drinking coffee, waiting for the storm to arrive. The 2 hours felt like 2 days. Maya sat in Chief Davis's office, watching her entire career implode through the window of a smartphone screen. The videos had hit 500,000 views in the first hour. 1 million by hour 2. The comments section was a war zone of opinion speculation and increasingly accurate guesses about her real identity. Davis refreshed his feed every few minutes, his expression growing grimmer with each scroll. "They're calling you the Mystery Warrior. Someone started a hashtag Mystery Warrior Army. It's trending nationally." "Great," Maya muttered. "Exactly what I needed." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Falcon 7, secure your personal devices. Wipe all non-essential data. Team arriving in 47 minutes. Maya pulled out her phone and began the deletion protocol she'd memorized during training. Photos, messages, apps, everything that could be traced or analyzed disappeared into digital oblivion. Within 3 minutes, her phone was factory reset, a blank slate that told no stories. Davis watched her work. "You're taking this well, all things considered." "Falling apart won't fix anything." "No, but most people would at least look upset. You look like you're filing paperwork." Maya glanced up. "I've been trained to compartmentalize, Chief. I'll process the emotions later when they won't compromise my effectiveness." "That's not healthy." "Maybe not, but it keeps me alive." Before Davis could respond, there was a sharp knock on the door. He opened it to find a young lieutenant standing there, her face flushed with urgency. "Chief Davis, sir. We have a situation developing in the barracks. The 4 recruits involved in the mess hall incident, they're receiving death threats on social media. Hundreds of them. Some are very specific, very credible." Davis swore under his breath. "Where are they now?" "Medical bay, sir. They were checked out and cleared, but Captain Morrison ordered them to stay there under supervision until we figure out next steps." "Good, keep them there. Post security if you need to. Nobody gets in or out without authorization." The lieutenant nodded and hurried away. Davis closed the door and turned to Maya. "Your situation just got more complicated. Those boys are getting torn apart online, and if something happens to them, it'll blow back on you too." Maya felt a twist of guilt she hadn't expected. They made their choice. They did. But they're still just kids barely 20 years old, and now the entire internet is calling for their heads. Some of the threats are talking about finding them off base, following them home. Davis ran a hand through his gray hair. "I've seen mob justice before. It's never pretty." Maya's phone buzzed again. Another text, media presence at front gate. "Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage." "They're here," she said quietly. "The media?" "According to my people, yes." Davis moved to his window, which faced the front of the admin building. Sure enough, 3 news vans were parked at the main gate, reporters setting up cameras, preparing for their stand-ups. How did they get here so fast? Viral video involving military personnel and gender discrimination. This is catnip for the news cycle. Davis pulled the blinds closed. "Stay away from windows. Last thing we need is someone getting a telephoto shot of you." They retreated back to their seats. The office felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in. Maya focused on her breathing, using techniques she'd learned during SEER training survival evasion resistance escape. Stay present. Stay calm. Panic is the enemy. Her phone rang. Not a text this time, an actual call from the same unknown number. "Falcon 7? This is Colonel Richards JSOC. I'm en route to your location with a support team. ETA 32 minutes. I need you to brief me on everything that happened. Start to finish, no details omitted." Maya walked him through the entire incident, the recruits' approach, their comments, the escalation, the physical contact, her response, the aftermath. Richards listened without interrupting, occasionally asking for clarification on specific details. When she finished, there was a long pause. "You understand what this means for your current operation," Richards finally said. Yes, sir. The mission is compromised. 18 months of intelligence gathering is likely lost. Not likely. Definitely. We're pulling you out completely. The assets you were monitoring have probably already been alerted. Every hostile intelligence service in the world is going to be analyzing those videos frame by frame. Maya closed her eyes. I know, sir. This isn't your fault, Falcon 7. You defended yourself appropriately, but the consequences are severe, and we need to move fast. When I arrive, we're extracting you immediately. Pack nothing. Bring nothing. We'll handle your personal effects later. Understood. One more thing. The media is circling. Do not speak to anyone outside official channels. That's an order. Yes, sir. The call ended. Maya set her phone down and found Chief Davis watching her with something like sympathy. Bad news, he asked. I'm being extracted. Complete operational reset. Extracted like witness protection extracted. Something like that. Davis whistled low. Damn. All because 4 ignorant kids couldn't keep their mouths shut and their hands to themselves. Maya stood and walked to the window, careful to stay back from the blinds. Through the slats, she could see more news vans arriving. It's not their fault. Not entirely. I knew the risks when I took this assignment. I knew that if my cover was blown, everything would unravel. Still seems unfair. Fair doesn't matter in my line of work, Chief. Effective matters. Safe matters. Fair is a luxury. Another knock at the door, this one more urgent. Davis opened it to find the same lieutenant from before, but now she was accompanied by Captain Elizabeth Morrison, the base public affairs officer. Morrison was in her mid-40s, sharp-eyed, with the kind of professional intensity that came from years of managing crises. She looked at Maya, then at Davis, then back at Maya. Petty Officer Chen, I presume. Yes, ma'am. I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. In the last 90 minutes, I have received 47 media requests for interviews with you. CNN, Fox News, NBC, local stations, international outlets, everyone wants your story. I have also received 6 requests from literary agents wanting to discuss book deals and 3 from Hollywood production companies interested in your life rights. Maya stared at her. You're joking. I wish I were. You are currently the most famous person on this base, possibly in the entire military. The videos have been viewed over 3 million times. Celebrities are sharing them. Politicians are using them in social media posts about women in combat. You've become a symbol whether you wanted to or not. Davis shook his head in disbelief. 3 million views in 2 hours. 3.2 million and climbing exponentially. The analytics suggest we'll hit 10 million by end of day. Morrison turned back to Maya. I need you to understand the position this puts us in. The media will not stop until they get answers. If we don't give them something, they'll make up their own narrative. I'm not authorized to speak to media, Maya said firmly. My command has already ordered me to remain silent. Morrison's expression tightened. Your command being, that's classified, ma'am. Of course it is. Morrison pulled out a tablet and showed Maya a news headline. Mystery female soldier defeats 4 male attackers, who is the Army's secret weapon. Another headline viral video sparks debate about women in combat roles. Another 4 recruits hospitalized after confronting female soldier. This narrative is being written right now, Morrison said, and we have approximately 0 control over it. Unless you can give me something, anything to work with, this story is going to spiral in directions none of us can predict. Maya felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down. Stay silent and let the story become whatever the media wanted it to be, or speak, and potentially compromise operational security even further. The door burst open without a knock. A full colonel strode in, flanked by 2 MPs in full tactical gear. Colonel James Richards J. Sock had arrived early. "Clear the room," he ordered. "Everyone except Petty Officer Chen." Captain Morrison drew herself up. "Colonel, with respect, I'm the PAO for this base, and I need to—" "With respect. Captain, this is now a matter of national security, and you need to leave. Immediately." Morrison looked like she wanted to argue, but thought better of it. She left, followed by the lieutenant. Chief Davis started to go, but Richards stopped him. "You stay, Chief. You witnessed the incident, and you've been with Petty Officer Chen since it occurred. I need your statement." Davis nodded and closed the door. Richards turned to Maya, his expression unreadable. He was in his 50s, built like a man who still ran 5 miles every morning with silver hair cut high and tight. "Falcon 7, we have a problem bigger than I initially assessed." "Sir, sit down, both of you." Richards waited until they complied, then pulled out his own tablet. "In the 30 minutes since we last spoke, our signals intelligence has detected heightened communications from 3 foreign intelligence services. Chinese MSS, Russian SVR, and Iranian MOIS, all of them, are working overtime to identify you and connect you to recent operations." Maya's stomach dropped. "How specific are they?" "Very. The Chinese have already matched your facial features to surveillance footage from that joint training exercise in South Korea last year. The one where you were operating under a different cover identity. They haven't made a definitive connection yet, but they're close." Davis looked between them, trying to follow. "What does that mean in practical terms?" "It means," Richard said grimly, "that Petty Officer Chen isn't just compromised locally. She's potentially compromised internationally. Every operation she's been involved in over the past 3 years is now at risk of exposure. Assets in the field, intelligence sources, ongoing missions, all of it could unravel because of 43 seconds in a mess hall." The room fell silent. Maya felt like she was falling, the ground disappearing beneath her feet. She'd known the consequences would be bad, but this was catastrophic. "There's more," Richards continued. "The 4 recruits who confronted you, we've identified a connection we didn't expect. One of them, Tyler Morrison. His father is Congressman William Morrison from Texas, sits on the House Armed Services Committee." "Oh no," Davis breathed. "Oh yes. And Congressman Morrison is currently on every news channel he can find, talking about how his son was brutally attacked by a female soldier who clearly has mental health issues and shouldn't be in the military. He's calling for investigations hearings, the whole political circus." Maya's hands clenched into fists. "His son and his friends surrounded me and put their hands on me first. There are dozens of witnesses." "I know that. You know that. The witnesses know that. But Congressman Morrison doesn't care about facts. He cares about protecting his son's reputation and scoring political points. He's already drafted legislation to investigate the integration of women into combat roles and the psychological screening processes that allow unstable individuals to serve." Davis slammed his hand on the desk. "That's complete garbage. She defended herself appropriately. This is just political opportunism." "Of course it is. But it's effective political opportunism. By tomorrow morning, Petty Officer Chen will be testifying in front of Congress whether she wants to or not." Maya felt the room spinning. "I can't testify. My operations are classified. I can't discuss anything I've done without compromising national security." "I'm aware, which is why we're in an impossible situation." Richard sat down heavily. "The Pentagon is freaking out. The White House is freaking out. Everyone wants this to go away, but it's too big now. It's gone viral in every sense of the word." The door opened again. A woman in her 30s wearing civilian clothes but moving with military precision entered without knocking. She carried a secure briefcase handcuffed to her wrist. "Colonel Richards, I have the updated threat assessment you requested." Richards took the briefcase, unlocked it with a code, and pulled out a thick folder. He scanned the first page, and Maya watched his face go pale. "What is it?" she asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Richards looked up, and for the first time since arriving, he looked genuinely worried. "We've intercepted chatter about a potential kidnapping attempt. There's a bounty on you not to kill but to capture alive. $5 million from an organization we haven't fully identified yet." The room went cold. Davis stood up. "A bounty? Are you saying someone wants to kidnap her?" "Multiple someones, potentially. The video showed capabilities that foreign governments would love to study. They want to know how she was trained, what she knows, what operations she's been involved in, and they're willing to pay handsomely to find out." Maya's training kicked in, overriding the fear trying to claw its way up her throat. "What's the security protocol? As of right now, you're in protective custody. You don't leave this building without armed escort. You don't communicate with anyone outside official channels. And within 6 hours, you'll be on a transport to an undisclosed location where we can keep you safe while we figure out our next moves." 6 hours, Maya repeated. "That's a long time to keep someone safe when there's a $5 million bounty." "I know, which is why we're moving you to a secure room in this building immediately. No windows, reinforced door, armed guards outside." Richards gestured to the woman who'd brought the briefcase. "Lieutenant Hayes will be your personal security detail until transport arrives." Lieutenant Hayes nodded professionally. "Ma'am, if you'll come with me." Maya stood, then looked at Chief Davis. "Thank you for everything, Chief. I'm sorry I brought this chaos to your base." Davis stood and shook her hand. "You've got nothing to apologize for. You did what any soldier should do. You defended yourself. The fact that it turned into a political nightmare isn't on you." Richards checked his watch. "We need to move. Now. Every minute you're exposed is a risk." They left the office, moving quickly down the hallway. Lieutenant Hayes led the way, one hand on her sidearm, scanning every corner and doorway. 2 MPs fell in behind them, creating a protective box around Maya. As they walked, Maya could hear commotion from other parts of the building. Raised voices, phones ringing, the general chaos of an organization trying to manage a crisis it hadn't expected. Through a window, she caught a glimpse of the front gate. The number of news vans had doubled. They reached a door marked Secure Conference Room. Hayes unlocked it with a keycard, checked inside, then nodded for Maya to enter. The room was exactly as described. No windows, 1 reinforced door, a table, chairs, and nothing else. It felt like a prison cell dressed up as an office. "I'll be right outside," Hayes said. "You need anything, you knock. Don't open this door unless you hear my voice confirming it's safe." Maya nodded and entered. The door closed behind her with a heavy metallic sound that felt far too final. She was alone. For the first time since the mess hall incident, Maya allowed herself to feel the full weight of what had happened. Her mission was destroyed. Her cover was blown. She was potentially in danger from multiple foreign intelligence services. A congressman was using her as a political football. And somewhere out there, 4 young recruits were learning that actions had consequences they couldn't have imagined. She sat down at the table and put her head in her hands. 43 seconds. That's all it had taken to upend her entire life. There was a soft knock on the door. "Petty Officer Chen, it's Hayes. I have Colonel Richards with me. He needs to speak with you." Maya straightened. "Come in." The door opened. Richards entered alone, his expression even grimmer than before. "We have another development," he said without preamble. "The videos have been analyzed by a private security firm that specializes in identifying special operations personnel. They've published a report concluding with 93% certainty that you're Delta Force." Maya's blood ran cold. "How is that possible? Delta doesn't officially exist." "Doesn't officially exist, but everyone knows it does. And this firm has enough former operators on staff to recognize the signature techniques. They've posted their analysis online. It's spreading almost as fast as the original videos." So my unit affiliation is now public knowledge. Essentially, yes. Which means every foreign government now knows not just that you're special operations, but specifically what kind. That narrows down which operations you might have been involved in considerably. Maya stood and began pacing, her mind racing through implications. How many active missions am I connected to? 14 across 7 countries. We're currently running damage assessments on all of them, but preliminary reports suggest at least 4 are severely compromised. We're pulling assets out now, but it's messy, and we might lose people. The guilt hit her like a physical blow. Other operators' assets in the field, intelligence sources, all of them at risk because she'd defended herself in a mess hall. I should have just taken it, she said quietly. I should have let them say whatever they wanted and walked away. Richards shook his head firmly. Absolutely not. You did exactly what you were trained to do. You assessed a threat, attempted de-escalation, and when physical contact was initiated, you responded appropriately. This is not your fault. Then whose fault is it? The 4 recruits who couldn't keep their prejudices to themselves. The systems that failed to properly train them in respect and discipline. The media that turned it into a viral sensation. The politicians using it for points. But not yours, petty officer. Never yours. Maya wanted to believe him, but the weight of consequences made it hard to accept absolution. Richards continued. What we need to focus on now is keeping you safe and managing the fallout. The transport will be here in 5 hours and 42 minutes. Until then, you stay in this room, you stay quiet, and you let us handle the chaos outside. What about the 4 recruits, Morrison's son and his friends? They're being moved to a different facility for their own safety. The death threats are credible enough that we're taking them seriously. Despite everything, we don't want them hurt. Neither do I, Maya said, and she meant it. They'd been stupid and prejudiced, but they didn't deserve to die for it. Richards moved toward the door. Try to rest if you can. It's going to be a long few days ahead. He left, and Maya was alone again. She sat back down and closed her eyes, trying to find some center of calm in the storm. But all she could see was those 43 seconds playing over and over Brad's hand on her arm, her elbow striking his solar plexus. Tyler's face hitting the table. Rico crashing to the floor. 43 seconds that changed everything. Outside the room, she could hear muffled voices, footsteps, the persistent chaos of a base dealing with more attention than it had ever expected. Somewhere in that chaos, 4 young men were learning lessons about respect the hard way. Somewhere else, foreign intelligence services were working overtime to exploit the situation. And everywhere, millions of people were watching videos and making judgments about things they didn't understand. Maya opened her eyes and stared at the blank wall. She'd spent years learning to be invisible, to blend in, to operate in shadows, where her gender and size were advantages because no one suspected the quiet woman in the corner. Now she was the most visible person in the military, and she had no idea how to navigate this new reality. 3 hours into her confinement, Maya's phone buzzed with a number she recognized immediately. Her handler from Delta, the one person who knew every detail of her last 3 years. Falcon 7, secure line, she answered. Maya, it's Marcus. His voice was tight. We have a critical situation developing. I need you to listen without interrupting. Her stomach clenched. Marcus never used her real name unless things were catastrophically bad. One of your assets in Jakarta just went dark, completely off-grid. Last communication was 47 minutes ago. He used the duress code. Maya's chest tightened. Rashid, yes. We believe his cover was compromised when the facial recognition analysis linked you to the South Korea operation. Rashid was your contact there. Someone put 2 and 2 together. Where is he now? We don't know. Indonesian intelligence is moving heaven and earth to locate him, but if hostile forces got to him first? Marcus didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Maya stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need to get to Jakarta. You can't do anything. You're burned, Maya. The moment you step foot in that country, every intelligence service will know. You'd be putting Rashid in more danger, not less. Then what am I supposed to do? Just sit here while someone who trusted me disappears? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Because right now you're the liability. Your face is everywhere. Your techniques have been analyzed. Foreign governments are actively hunting for you. The best thing you can do for Rashid and every other asset we have is stay exactly where you are and let us clean up this mess. The words hit like bullets. Maya had spent years building relationships with assets, earning their trust, promising them protection. And now, one of them was missing because of her. Marcus, it's not your fault. I need you to hear that. You defended yourself against an assault. Everything that followed was a cascade of circumstances beyond your control. Rashid wouldn't see it that way. Rashid knew the risks when he agreed to work with us. We all did. Marcus paused. Look, I have to go. We're running parallel operations to locate him. If we find him, I'll let you know. Until then, stay safe. The bounty on you has increased to 8 million. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, feeling the walls of the secure room pressing in. $8 million. Rashid missing. 14 operations compromised. All because she'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. Lieutenant Hayes knocked and entered carrying a tray of food. You need to eat something. Colonel's orders. I'm not hungry. Hayes set the tray down anyway. Respectfully, ma'am, I don't care. You haven't eaten since breakfast, and that was interrupted by 4 idiots. Your body needs fuel. Maya looked at the sandwich, the apple, the bottle of water. Her Delta training screamed at her to eat, to maintain readiness, but her guilt made everything taste like ash. Hayes didn't leave. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from Maya. Permission to speak freely. Granted. I was there, in the mess hall. I saw the whole thing. Hayes leaned forward. Those boys surrounded you like a pack of wolves. They were aggressive, intimidating, looking to put you in your place. And when you defended yourself, you did it with restraint I've rarely seen. You could have broken bones, ruptured organs, caused permanent damage. But you didn't. You used exactly enough force to stop the threat and no more. That doesn't feel like restraint when someone's asset disappears because of it. That's not on you. That's on the people who can't accept that women are just as capable as men in combat roles. That's on a system that still treats female soldiers like we're playing dress-up instead of serving our country. Hayes's voice carried steel. I've been in the Army for 8 years. I've dealt with harassment, discrimination, men who think my uniform is a costume. What you did this morning, that's what every one of us wishes we could do. You stood up for yourself, and you won. Don't let guilt take that away from you. Maya met her eyes. People are getting hurt because I stood up for myself. People were already getting hurt. They were just invisible to you before this moment. Hayes stood. Eat your sandwich. That's an order from someone who outranks you in common sense, if not in special operations badassery. Despite everything, Maya almost smiled. She picked up the sandwich and took a bite. It tasted like cardboard, but Hayes was right. She needed fuel. Hayes moved to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, ma'am, you're my hero. You're a lot of women's hero right now. Try to remember that while you're busy blaming yourself for things you didn't cause. She left, and Maya was alone again with her thoughts and her inadequate sandwich. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The truth about Maya Chen. Exclusive interview coming soon. Then another. We know where you're hiding. Then another $8 million. Someone's going to collect. Maya blocked the numbers and turned her phone off completely. The threats were expected, but that didn't make them less disturbing. She finished her sandwich and was starting on the apple when the door burst open without warning. Colonel Richard stormed in, his face flushed with anger. We have a major problem. Someone leaked your personnel file to the press. Your real personnel file, not the cover story. Maya dropped the apple. How is that possible? Those files are classified at the highest levels. Apparently not high enough. CNN is running a story in 20 minutes detailing your career, Delta Force selection, your operations in Syria, Afghanistan, the South Korea joint training exercise. Everything. Everything. Maya felt dizzy. My team members, the missions. They're being careful with operational details, but yes, enough information that anyone with intelligence training can fill in the gaps. Richards pulled out his tablet. It gets worse. Congressman Morrison is using this leak to argue that women in special operations are a security risk. He's calling for your court-martial. Court-martial for what? Defending myself. For existing, apparently. For being female and capable and threatening his worldview. But Richards' anger was barely controlled. The Pentagon is in complete chaos. The Joint Chiefs are meeting right now to discuss how to handle this. Half of them want to throw you under the bus to make the story go away. The other half want to defend you and use this as an opportunity to highlight the capabilities of female operators. Maya stood. I don't want to be anyone's political symbol. I just want to do my job. That job no longer exists. Not for you. Not anymore. Richard sat down heavily. We're pulling you out of Delta. Complete reassignment. You'll be transferred to a training position stateside, probably at Fort Benning, where you can teach tactics without being in the field. You're benching me. We're protecting you and protecting operational security. Every mission you've ever been on is now compromised. Every technique you've used has been analyzed on social media. You can't operate in the shadows anymore because you're standing in the spotlight, whether you want to be or not. Maya felt her career crumbling. I spent 3 years in selection and training. I've served on 17 missions across 4 continents. I've saved lives and gathered intelligence that prevented terrorist attacks. And now I'm done because 4 recruits couldn't handle seeing a woman in uniform. Yes. That's exactly what's happening. And it's wrong, and it's unfair, and it makes me furious, but it's reality. Richards looked at her with something like sympathy. You're a victim of your own competence, Maya. If you'd been less skilled, if those videos showed a messy brawl instead of surgical precision, maybe this would have blown over. But you were too good. You showed capabilities that most people don't believe women possess. And now you're paying the price for breaking their illusions. There was a commotion outside the door. Raised voices, someone shouting. Hayes burst in her sidearm drawn. Colonel, we have a situation. Someone tried to breach the building perimeter. Armed male civilian clothes claiming he's a journalist, but security found weapons and surveillance equipment. Richards was on his feet instantly. Where is he now? Detained by MPs. But sir, he had detailed plans of this building, including the location of this room. Maya and Richards exchanged glances. The bounty hunters were already moving. Double the security detail, Richards ordered. Nobody gets within 50 feet of this room without proper authorization. And move up the transport timeline. I want her out of here in 2 hours, not 5. Hayes nodded and left. Richards turned to Maya. Pack your things. We're leaving earlier than planned. I don't have any things. You told me to leave everything. Then just be ready to move fast when I give the word. He left, and Maya was alone again. But now the silence felt different, threatening. The walls weren't protecting her anymore, they were trapping her. She moved to the door and listened. Footsteps outside, multiple sets moving with purpose, voices speaking in low, urgent tones. The building was on high alert. Her phone, still powered off, sat on the table. She turned it back on and immediately regretted it. 73 new messages. Most were threats. Some were from reporters offering money for her story. 3 were from her mother, who'd apparently seen the news and was frantic. Maya called her mother before she could talk herself out of it. Maya, oh my God. Maya, are you okay? The news is saying you're in danger, that there are people trying to hurt you, that, Mom, I'm fine. I'm safe. I'm in a secure location with armed guards. This is because of that video, isn't it? The one where those boys. Her mother's voice broke. I'm so proud of you for standing up for yourself, but I'm terrified about what's happening now. I'm scared too, Mom, but I'm trained for this. I know how to handle dangerous situations. This isn't a mission overseas. This is different. These people want to hurt you because you're a woman who dared to be better than men expected. Maya closed her eyes. I know. Come home. Please. Just resign and come home where I can see you're safe. I can't. I have obligations, responsibilities, people counting on me. What about me counting on you? What about your father, who's been sick with worry since he saw that video? What about your sister, who's getting harassed at school because her classmates won't stop asking about her? Famous, tough girl sister. Maya hadn't thought about the ripples reaching her family. I'm sorry, Mom. I never wanted any of this to touch you. Well, it has. And now I'm watching news reports about bounties and death threats and congressional hearings, and my daughter is in the middle of it all. I'll be okay. I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep, Maya. Just be careful. Please. I will. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. So much. Maya ended the call and wiped tears she hadn't realized were falling. The emotional compartmentalization that had served her so well in the field was failing. She was cracking under pressure she'd never trained for. The door opened again. A man she didn't recognize entered wearing a suit instead of a uniform. He had that particular look of government civilian sharp eyes, carefully neutral expression, expensive, but understated clothes. Petty Officer Chen, I'm David Werner from the Department of Defense. I need to brief you on the congressional hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, Colonel Richards said transport was coming in 2 hours. Plans have changed. The Secretary of Defense has decided that the best way to control this narrative is to put you in front of Congress immediately. Let you tell your story directly under oath before Congressman Morrison can poison the well any further. Maya felt her heart rate spike. I can't testify about classified operations. You won't have to. We've prepared a statement that focuses on the mess hall incident itself. The harassment, the assault, your response. Nothing operational. Nothing that compromises national security. Congressman Morrison will ask about my background, my training, how I learned to fight like that. And you'll answer that you're not authorized to discuss your training in detail due to security classifications. The committee will have to respect that. Werner pulled out a thick folder. We've prepared you for every question they might ask. We've anticipated every angle Morrison might take. You'll be fine. Maya took the folder, scanning the first few pages. It was comprehensive potential questions, approved responses, legal boundaries she couldn't cross. But it all felt like window dressing for a disaster. What happens if Morrison doesn't respect classification boundaries? Werner's expression darkened. Then we have a constitutional crisis on our hands. But between you and me, that's exactly what he wants. He's looking to make you the poster child for his campaign against women in combat. If he can get you to refuse to answer questions, he'll paint you as insubordinate and secretive. If he can trick you into revealing classified information, he'll use it to argue that female operators can't be trusted with sensitive material. So I'm damned either way. Not if you stick to the script and don't let him bait you into emotional responses. He'll try to make you angry, try to make you look unstable or aggressive. Don't give him that satisfaction. Maya thought about Rashid still missing, about the 14 compromised operations, about her mother crying on the phone, about her entire life unraveling because she'd dared to defend herself. I'm not an actress, Mr. Werner. I'm a soldier. I don't know how to play political games. You're a special operations officer who's infiltrated hostile organizations, maintained cover identities under extreme pressure, and made life-or-death decisions in combat zones. If you can do all that you can handle a few hours with politicians, Werner stood. The hearing is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. A car will pick you up at 6 to brief you further. Try to get some sleep tonight. He left, and Maya stared at the folder in her hands. Tomorrow she'd be sitting in front of cameras under oath being questioned by people who'd already decided she was guilty of something. The door opened yet again. This time it was Chief Davis looking exhausted. Heard you're testifying tomorrow. Wanted to check on you before they ship you out of here. I'm terrified, Maya admitted. I've faced enemy combatants in Syria, but the thought of sitting in front of Congress makes me want to run. Davis pulled out a chair and sat down. You know what the difference is. What? In Syria, you knew the rules. You knew who the enemy was and what they wanted. In Congress, the rules keep changing, and the enemy wears the same flag you do. He shook his head. I've been following the news. Morrison is gunning for you hard. He's already got half the committee convinced you're some kind of unhinged vigilante. Based on what evidence? Based on the fact that you're a woman who fought back. That's all the evidence some people need. Davis leaned forward. But here's what you need to remember. Millions of people saw those videos. They saw 4 men surround you. They saw them harass you, threaten you, put their hands on you. And they saw you handle it with professionalism and precision. Most people are on your side, Maya. Don't forget that when you're sitting in that hearing room feeling alone. Most people aren't in Congress. No, but Congress answers to most people eventually. Morrison might win some political points in the short term, but history won't be kind to him. You'll be remembered as the woman who stood up for herself and sparked a national conversation about respect and equality. He'll be remembered as the bully who tried to punish you for it. Maya wanted to believe him, but belief was hard to find right now. Chief, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think I did the right thing in the mess hall, I mean? Or should I have just walked away? Davis didn't hesitate. You did exactly the right thing. You gave them multiple chances to back down. You tried de-escalation. And when they forced physical contact, you defended yourself appropriately. Anyone who says otherwise is either ignorant or has an agenda. Even if it cost me my career, cost other people their safety. Even then, because if you'd walked away, what message would that send? That women should accept harassment and assault to avoid making waves, that our careers are contingent on accepting abuse quietly. Davis shook his head firmly. No. You showed every female soldier in this military that they have the right to defend themselves. That's worth the cost, even if the cost is high. There was a sharp knock, and Lieutenant Hayes stuck her head in. Colonel Richards needs to see both of you. Now, something's happened. They followed Hayes to Richards's office, where a small crowd had gathered around his computer. The colonel's face was ashen. What's wrong? Maya asked. Richards turned the screen toward her. It showed a live news broadcast, the chyron reading, Breaking Congressman Morrison's son admits father pressured him to lie about mess hall incident. Maya's breath caught. On screen, Tyler Morrison sat in what looked like a hotel room, his face bruised and tear-stained, speaking directly to a camera. I need to tell the truth, Tyler was saying. My father has been coaching me on what to say, telling me to make it sound like she attacked us for no reason. But that's not what happened. We surrounded her. We harassed her. We threatened her. And when my friend Brad put his hands on her, she defended herself. Everything she did was justified, and I'm ashamed of what we did. The reporter's voice came from off-camera. Why are you coming forward now? Because my father is using this incident to push his political agenda, and I can't let an innocent person suffer because of my mistakes. What we did was wrong. What my father is doing is worse. Richards paused the video. This aired 7 minutes ago. Congressman Morrison's office has issued a statement calling his son mentally unstable and claiming he's been pressured by liberal activists to make false statements. But it's true, Maya said. Every word of it. I know, And so does everyone who watched the original videos. But Morrison is trying to discredit his own son to save his political career. Richards ran a hand through his hair. This changes tomorrow's hearing significantly. Morrison can't call you a liar when his own son just contradicted him on live television. Chief Davis was watching the screen where Tyler's confession continued to play on loop. That kid just threw himself on a grenade to do the right thing. That takes courage most people don't have. Maya felt something shift inside her. Tyler Morrison, the arrogant recruit who'd started this entire mess, had just sacrificed his relationship with his father to tell the truth. It didn't erase what he'd done, but it showed growth, remorse, accountability. "Where is he now?" Maya asked. "Is he safe?" "We don't know. The interview was recorded and uploaded anonymously. We're trying to locate him, but if his father's people find him first..." Richards didn't finish the sentence. Maya made a decision. "I want protective detail sent to find Tyler Morrison and his 3 friends. They're in danger, and it's because of me." "They're in danger because they harassed you," Richards corrected. "But you're right that they need protection. I'll make it happen." Another knock at the door. A young sergeant entered, looking frazzled. "Sir, CNN is reporting that the bounty on Petty Officer Chen has been withdrawn. They're saying the organization that posted it has been identified and shut down by federal authorities." Relief flooded through Maya. "Shut down how?" "Joint operation between FBI and military intelligence. Apparently they've been tracking the group for months, and the bounty gave them the leverage they needed to move in." Richards actually smiled. "Well, that's the first good news we've had all day. At least we don't have to worry about bounty hunters anymore. Just death threats, political attacks, and international intelligence services," Maya said dryly. "Baby steps." Richards checked his watch. "Transport is here. Time to move you to some more secure location for the night. Tomorrow you testify, and then we figure out what comes next." Maya took a deep breath. Tomorrow she'd face Congress, face Congressman Morrison, face the cameras, and the questions, and the judgment of people who'd already made up their minds about her. But at least now she knew she wasn't alone. Tyler had told the truth. Hayes and Davis believed in her. Millions of people who'd seen the videos were on her side. It wasn't enough to fix everything, but it was enough to keep fighting. "Let's go," she said. "I'm ready." The transport arrived at 0400 hours, a black SUV with tinted windows and 2 armed escorts who barely spoke. Maya sat in the back seat, watching the dark landscape blur past her mind, racing through the testimony she'd memorized, the questions she'd anticipated, the traps she knew Morrison would set. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus Rashid, found alive. "Extracted safely. He says to tell you it wasn't your fault." Maya closed her eyes and let out a breath she'd been holding for hours. One piece of good news in an ocean of chaos. Another text, this one, from an unknown number. "We're with you tomorrow. You're not alone. Female Soldiers Coalition." Then another. "My daughter wants to join the army because of you. Thank you for showing her women can be warriors. Proud father." And another. "Don't let them break you. Stand tall. Marine veteran." The messages kept coming, hundreds of them, flooding her phone with support from people she'd never met. Maya read them one by one, drawing strength from strangers who believed in her when she was struggling to believe in herself. The SUV pulled into an underground garage beneath a nondescript government building. The escorts led her through secured corridors to a small apartment where she'd spend the next few hours before the hearing. "Get some sleep if you can," one of the escorts said. "We'll wake you at 0600 for final prep." Sleep was impossible. Maya lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios, preparing for battle, in a way she'd never trained for. Congressional hearings weren't in the Delta Force handbook. At 0545, someone knocked. Maya was already dressed in her service uniform, medals, polished hair perfect, ready to present the image of a professional soldier who'd done nothing wrong. David Werner entered with 2 other DoD officials she didn't recognize. They carried briefcases and the tense energy of people heading into a fight. "How are you feeling?" Werner asked. "Like I'm about to walk into an ambush." "Good. That means you're taking this seriously." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a tablet. "We need to go over a few last-minute developments. Tyler Morrison has disappeared. His father's people tried to find him last night, but military intelligence got to him first. He's in protective custody." "Is he testifying today?" "No. His lawyer advised against it given his father's position on the committee. But his video testimony will be entered into the record as evidence." One of the other officials, a woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes, spoke up. "I'm Commander Sarah Reeves, JAG Corps. I'll be sitting behind you during the testimony. If Morrison asks anything that ventures into classified territory, I'll object immediately. You just focus on staying calm and telling the truth." "What if he asks about my Delta Force service?" "You confirm you're a special operations soldier. You do not specify unit operations or training details. If he pushes, Commander Reeves will shut it down." Werner pulled up a document on his tablet. "We've got some interesting developments overnight. 6 female senators have issued a joint statement supporting you. 3 retired generals have written op-eds defending your actions. And the public polling is running 73% in your favor." Maya absorbed this information. "What about the 27% who don't support me?" Werner smiled grimly. "They think women shouldn't be in combat at all, so you were never going to win them over anyway." The escort knocked again. "Sir, we need to move. Traffic is building and we need to arrive before the media circus gets too dense." They left the building through a different exit this time, in a convoy of 3 vehicles. Maya rode in the middle, one sandwiched between Commander Reeves and Werner, both of them making last-minute adjustments to strategy. "Remember," Reeves said, "Morrison will try to make you emotional. He'll use inflammatory language, make accusations, question your judgment and your character. Do not take the bait. Stay professional, stay calm, and if you need a moment to compose yourself, ask for it. There's no shame in asking for a short recess." "I won't need a recess." Everyone thinks that until they're sitting in that chair with cameras on them and hostile questioning flying. Pride is dangerous in congressional hearings. Promise me you'll ask for a break if you need one. Maya met her eyes. "I promise." The convoy pulled up to the Capitol building at 0745. Even that early, protesters lined both sides of the street, some holding signs supporting Maya, others with messages about maintaining military standards and keeping women out of combat. The division was visceral, angry, impossible to ignore. "Don't look at them," Werner advised. "Eyes forward, head up, professional bearing. You're a soldier reporting for duty, not a defendant on trial." They entered through a side entrance, avoiding the main press gauntlet. But inside the building, reporters still shouted questions as Maya passed. "Petty Officer Chen, how do you feel about Congressman Morrison's accusations? Are you worried about your career? Do you regret defending yourself?" Maya kept walking, flanked by her escort, refusing to engage. Werner had been clear no statements to press until after the testimony. They reached the hearing room at Aero 800. It was already packed with spectators, journalists, cameras. Maya scanned the room with trained eyes, noting exits, security positions, potential threats. Old habits from a life that felt increasingly distant. Congressman Morrison sat at the center of the committee table, his face set in stern disapproval. He was in his 60s, silver-haired, with the kind of confidence that came from decades in power. His eyes found Maya and held her gaze with undisguised hostility. To his left sat Senator Patricia Williams, one of the 6 who'd issued the support statement. Her expression was warm, encouraging. The committee was divided, and everyone knew it. Commander Reeves leaned close to Maya's ear. Williams will ask you softening questions first. Let her establish your credibility and service record. Morrison will go after you hard, but he has to wait his turn. At 0900 exactly, the committee chairman gavelled the hearing to order. This hearing of the House Armed Services Committee is now in session. We're here to examine the incident that occurred at Joint Base Lewis McLeod on December 14th, and to discuss broader issues of military readiness and gender integration in combat units. The chairman was neutral in tone, but Maya could read between the lines. This wasn't just about the mess hall. This was about whether women belonged in special operations at all. Senator Williams spoke first. Petty Officer Chen, thank you for appearing today. I know this has been a difficult time for you. Can you walk us through your military service record? Maya leaned toward the microphone, her voice steady. Yes, ma'am. I enlisted in the Army 6 years ago. I completed basic training at Fort Jackson, then advanced individual training for logistics. I was selected for special operations training 3 years ago and have served in that capacity since. And during your service, have you received any commendations or awards? Yes, ma'am. 2 Army Commendation Medals, 1 Joint Service Achievement Medal, and a Bronze Star for meritorious service in a combat zone. Morrison interrupted, his voice sharp. That Bronze Star was for a classified operation you're not authorized to discuss, correct? Commander Reeves stood. Mr. Chairman, that question ventures into classified territory inappropriate for this setting. Morrison waved dismissively. I'm simply establishing that Petty Officer Chen's service record is largely secret, which makes it impossible to verify her claims of competence or achievement. Williams fired back. The medals are in her official record, which the committee has reviewed in closed session. Her competence is not in question here, Congressman. Isn't it we're asked to believe that a woman barely over 5 feet tall defeated 4 combat-trained male soldiers in hand-to-hand combat? That strains credulity. Maya felt anger rising, but tamped it down. Congressman, height and gender don't determine combat effectiveness. Training discipline and proper technique do. Easy to say when you can't discuss the nature of that training due to classification restrictions you're conveniently hiding behind. I'm not hiding behind anything, sir. I'm following the law regarding classified information. Morrison leaned forward. Let me ask you directly, do you believe you were justified in using violence against those 4 young men? They initiated physical contact, sir. I defended myself using appropriate force. Appropriate force that put all 4 of them on the ground in under a minute, that sounds excessive to me. Werner had warned her about this angle. Morrison was trying to paint her as violent, unstable, a danger to others. Sir, appropriate force means using the minimum necessary to neutralize a threat. All 4 recovered fully with minor injuries. I could have caused far more damage, but chose restraint. So you're saying you held back, that you could have hurt them worse? Yes, sir. My training emphasizes control and precision. I used both. Morrison's smile was predatory. Your training, this mysterious classified training that makes you capable of defeating multiple male soldiers. Do you think other women could do what you did? With proper training, yes, sir. But they don't have that training, do they? Most female soldiers aren't special operations. Most can't fight like you can. So when they're harassed or assaulted, what are they supposed to do? It was a trap. If Maya said they should fight back, Morrison would argue most women weren't capable. If she said they shouldn't, he'd call her a hypocrite. Williams intervened. Congressman, this hearing is about a specific incident, not theoretical scenarios about female capabilities in general. On the contrary, Senator, this incident perfectly illustrates the problems with gender integration in combat units. We have a woman who's been given extensive, expensive training most soldiers never receive, and she used those skills in a common mess hall altercation. What does that tell us about readiness and appropriateness? Maya couldn't stay silent. It tells you that I was trained to handle threats professionally, and I did exactly that. Or it tells us that putting women in situations they're not naturally suited for requires extraordinary intervention to make them competitive with men, which wastes resources and still doesn't solve the fundamental problem of physical disparity. The room erupted. Protesters shouted. Reporters typed frantically. Senator Williams demanded order. Maya gripped the edge of the table, forcing herself to breathe, to stay professional, to not give Morrison the emotional outburst he was baiting for. The chairman gavelled for silence. When order was restored, Morrison continued. Let's discuss what happened before the physical altercation. According to witness statements, those 4 recruits were talking among themselves at their own table. You were eating alone at yours. Why did the situation escalate? They approached my table, sir. They surrounded me and began making harassing comments. What kind of comments? Maya recited them from memory. They suggested I didn't belong in the military, that I'd taken a job from a man who deserved it more, that I should be home taking care of children instead of wearing a uniform. Offensive comments, certainly, but just words. You could have left. You could have ignored them. Instead, you stayed and engaged, which led to violence. I shouldn't have to leave, sir. I was eating breakfast in a military facility where I'm stationed. I had every right to be there. Of course you did. But surely someone with your training understands the concept of de-escalation. Walking away from a confrontation rather than letting it become physical. I attempted de-escalation multiple times. I told them to leave me alone. I warned them they were making a mistake. I only acted when one of them grabbed me. Morrison pulled out a tablet. I have the video here. Let's watch it together. The screens around the room lit up with the mess hall footage. Maya watched herself surrounded, watched Brad reach for her, watched her own response play out in high definition for everyone to judge. When it ended, Morrison spoke. That's 43 seconds from first contact to last man down. 43 seconds of violence that could have been avoided if you'd simply walked away when they first approached. Or, Senator Williams interjected, it could have been avoided if those 4 men had shown basic respect and not harassed a fellow soldier. They were wrong to harass her. I'm not defending their behavior. But Petty Officer Chen's response was disproportionate to the threat. They were unarmed young men, fresh from basic training. She's a special operations soldier with classified combat training. The power imbalance was enormous. Maya leaned forward. The power imbalance was 4 against 1, sir. They surrounded me intentionally to intimidate me. That's a threat multiplier that required decisive response. Decisive response or excessive force? Where do we draw that line? The line is drawn at proportional response to imminent threat, which is exactly what I demonstrated. Morrison switched tactics. Your son Tyler has come forward claiming you were justified in your actions. Do you find it convenient that he changed his story after you became a viral sensation? Maya blinked. Excuse me, sir. Tyler Morrison is your son, not mine. Morrison's face flushed red. I misspoke. I meant to say, my son. The slip was telling. Morrison was rattled angry enough to make mistakes. Maya filed that information away. Williams pressed the advantage. Congressman, your son's testimony supports Petty Officer Chen's version of events. Are you calling your own son a liar? My son is confused and has been pressured by activists pushing an agenda. Or, Williams said coldly, your son told the truth and you're trying to discredit him to protect your political career. The hearing room erupted again. Maya sat quietly, letting the politicians fight while she maintained her composure. This was the battle Werner had prepared her for, staying calm while chaos swirled around her. A new committee member spoke up, Representative James Chen from California. No relation to Maya, but his questions were sympathetic. Petty Officer Chen, in your military career, have you faced harassment or discrimination before this incident? Yes, sir. Multiple times. And how did you typically handle it? I reported it through proper channels when appropriate. I focused on my work and let my performance speak for itself. I tried not to let it affect my effectiveness as a soldier. So you've shown a pattern of restraint and professionalism over many years, not a pattern of violence or aggression. Yes, sir. Representative Chen turned to Morrison. It seems to me that we have a decorated soldier who defended herself against assault, and instead of addressing the toxic behavior that led to that assault, we're putting her on trial. That's backwards. Morrison wasn't backing down. We're examining whether special operations training creates soldiers who are too dangerous for everyday military life. If someone with Petty Officer Chen's skills can snap at a simple verbal confrontation— I didn't snap? Maya interrupted, her voice carrying steel. I assessed a threat, attempted de-escalation, and when physical contact was initiated against my will, I defended myself with appropriate force. That's not snapping. That's exactly what every soldier is trained to do. But most soldiers don't have your capabilities. Most soldiers aren't surrounded and assaulted in mess halls, sir. The exchange hung in the air. Morrison stared at her, trying to find another angle of attack. Senator Williams jumped in. Let me ask you this, Petty Officer Chen. If you could go back to that morning knowing everything that would follow, would you do anything differently? Maya thought about Rashid, about the compromised operations, about her destroyed cover, about sitting here being interrogated on national television. She thought about her mother's tears and her sister's harassment, and Tyler Morrison's courage in telling the truth. No, ma'am, I wouldn't change anything. Because if I had walked away, if I had accepted that harassment and intimidation, I would have told every woman in uniform that their safety and dignity are less important than avoiding conflict. I refuse to send that message. The room erupted in applause from half the spectators. Morrison gavelled for order, but the damage was done. Maya's words were already being clipped and shared across social media. Morrison tried one last attack. Your refusal to discuss your training, your operations, your unit, it makes it impossible for this committee to properly evaluate your fitness for continued service. Commander Reeves stood. Congressman Petty Officer Chen's fitness has been evaluated continuously by her superior officers in Special Operations Command. She has consistently received excellent ratings. What you're really asking is for her to compromise national security to satisfy your political agenda. I'm asking for transparency. You're asking for classified information to be disclosed in an open hearing, which you know is illegal. Either move on to appropriate questions, or I'll recommend we close this portion of the hearing. The chairman intervened. Congressman Morrison, do you have any further questions that don't require classified information? Morrison sat back, his expression sour. No further questions. Maya felt something release in her chest. She'd survived. She'd told her truth without compromising security, without breaking down, without giving Morrison the ammunition he'd been hunting for. The chairman spoke. Petty Officer Chen, this committee appreciates your service and your testimony today. You're dismissed. Maya stood saluted and turned to leave. As she walked down the aisle toward the exit, female soldiers in the audience stood. Then male soldiers joined them, then civilians, until the entire room was on its feet, applauding. Morrison remained seated, his face dark with anger. Outside the hearing room, Werner and Reeves flanked Maya, guiding her through the media gauntlet. That was exceptional, Reeves said. You stayed composed, answered appropriately, and made Morrison look like the bully he is. Maya barely heard her. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving behind exhaustion and emotional whiplash. She'd testified. She'd survived. But she had no idea what came next. Her phone buzzed. A text from Colonel Richards. You did Delta proud today. We've got new orders for you. Call me when you can. Another text, this one from Tyler Morrison. Thank you for not hating me. I'm sorry for everything. You showed me what real courage looks like. And one more from Marcus Rashid wants to thank you personally. He's requesting permission to visit you. Says he owes you his life. Maya stopped walking, leaning against the wall, feeling the weight of everything that had happened since that morning in the mess hall. Her life would never be the same. Her career was transformed. But somehow impossibly she'd turned a nightmare into something meaningful. Werner checked his watch. We have a press conference in 20 minutes. You don't have to attend, but the Secretary of Defense will be speaking about your case and the broader issues it raises. He'd like you there. Maya straightened. I'll be there. Because if she'd learned anything from the past 48 hours, it was that running away solved nothing. Standing tall, telling the truth, and refusing to be diminished, that was the only path forward. They walked toward the press conference together, and Maya felt something she hadn't expected to feel again so soon. Hope. The press conference room was packed beyond capacity. Camera flashes created a strobe effect that made Maya's head hurt, but she stood beside the Secretary of Defense, with her shoulders back and her chin up, refusing to show weakness. Secretary James Patterson was a former 4-star general with a reputation for bluntness. He stepped to the podium, and the room fell silent. I've been Secretary of Defense for 3 years. In that time, I've dealt with international crises, budget battles, and political firestorms. But what happened to Petty Officer Maya Chen represents something different, a fundamental test of our values as a military and as a nation. Maya felt the weight of every eye in the room. Patterson continued. Yesterday morning, a decorated Special Operations soldier was eating breakfast when she was surrounded, harassed, and physically assaulted by 4 male recruits. She defended herself with professionalism and restraint, using precisely the amount of force necessary to neutralize a threat. For this, she has been vilified, threatened, and subjected to political attacks that have nothing to do with the facts of what occurred. Morrison hadn't wasted time. He was already on cable news calling the press conference a political stunt designed to protect a violent soldier from accountability. Patterson wasn't finished. I've reviewed the videos. I've read the witness statements. I've consulted with legal experts and military leadership. The conclusion is unambiguous. Petty Officer Chen acted appropriately and in accordance with her training. No disciplinary action will be taken against her. Furthermore, the 4 recruits involved will face administrative punishment for harassment and assault. A reporter shouted a question. What about Congressman Morrison's accusations that she's a security risk? Congressman Morrison is entitled to his opinions. He is not entitled to his own facts. Petty Officer Chen's service record speaks for itself. She has conducted herself with honor and distinction in circumstances most of us cannot imagine. Another reporter. Will she return to Special Operations duty? Patterson glanced at Maya, then back to the press. That decision will be made by her chain of command based on operational requirements, not political pressure. But Maya already knew the answer. Her face was too famous, her techniques too analyzed. She'd never operate in the shadows again. The questions came faster, overlapping, aggressive. Patterson fielded them with military precision, while Maya stood silent, a prop in her own story. She hated it. But Werner had been clear, let the secretary take the heat. Maintain dignity through silence. Finally, Patterson wrapped up. That's all the time we have. Thank you. They exited through a side door, escaping the shouting reporters. In the hallway, Patterson turned to Maya. That was brutal. You okay? Yes, sir. You're a terrible liar, Chen. Come on. I need coffee, and you look like you need something stronger. He led her to a small office where Colonel Richards was already waiting with Chief Davis, both men looking exhausted. Patterson poured coffee for everyone and sat down heavily. All right, let's talk about what happens next. Maya, your cover is completely blown. Every intelligence service on the planet knows your face and capabilities. Operationally, you're done with field work. Maya had been expecting this, but it still hit hard. Yes, sir. However, Patterson continued, we have an opportunity here. Public support for you is overwhelming. Women across the country, across the world are inspired by your story. We want to harness that. Harness it how, sir? We're creating a new position, Special Advisor on Women in Combat. You'd travel to bases, speak at recruitment events, work with units integrating female soldiers into combat roles. You'd be the face of a program showing that women can serve at the highest levels of military excellence. Maya set down her coffee. With respect, sir, that sounds like a PR job. I'm a soldier, not a spokesperson. Richards jumped in. It's a lot more than PR. You'd have real influence over policy training standards, integration protocols. You'd be shaping the future of women in special operations. Or I'd be a token paraded around to prove a point while my actual skills waste away. Patterson leaned forward. I understand your frustration. You've been a warrior your entire adult life. Now I'm asking you to be something different, a leader, a mentor, a symbol. It's not what you signed up for, but it's what the military needs from you now. What if I refuse? Then we'll reassign you to a training command somewhere quiet, where you can teach hand-to-hand combat to recruits and watch your career slowly die. Is that what you want? Maya's jaw tightened. That sounds like coercion, sir. It's reality. Your operational career is over whether you like it or not. The only question is whether you make something meaningful from the wreckage or let bitterness consume you. The words stung because they were true. Maya had lost her old life. She could either build a new one or spend years mourning what she couldn't have back. Davis spoke up. For what it's worth, I think you'd be incredible in that role. I saw how those female sailors looked at you after the mess hall incident. You're already inspiring people. Might as well make it official. Maya's phone buzzed. Another text from Tyler Morrison. My father just held a press conference calling you a propaganda tool. I recorded a video response defending you. Can I send it to you before posting? She showed the message to Patterson. He raised an eyebrow. That kid's got guts. Morrison Sr. is going to disown him. Probably already has, Richards said. I heard through channels that Tyler's been cut off financially. His mother snuck him money to hire a lawyer. Maya typed back. Send it. I trust your judgment. 30 seconds later, Tyler's video arrived. Maya played it for the room. Tyler sat in what looked like a cheap hotel room, his face still showing faint bruises from the mess hall. My father says Maya Chen is a propaganda tool being used by liberal activists. He's wrong. She's a soldier who defended herself when 4 of us, including me, cornered her and put our hands on her. I was there. I know what happened, and I know my father would rather destroy her reputation than admit his son screwed up and learned from it. The video continued for 3 minutes, Tyler methodically dismantling every argument his father had made, citing specific moments from the mess hall footage, acknowledging his own failures. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Tyler concluded. I don't deserve it yet, but I am asking everyone watching to look at the evidence and ask yourself, who are you going to believe, the politician trying to protect his career or the people who were actually there? Patterson whistled. That's going to hurt Morrison badly. Political suicide for a congressman's son to publicly turn on his father. It's also the right thing to do, Maya said quietly. Whatever else Tyler did wrong, he's trying to make it right now. Her phone rang. Marcus calling. Excuse me, I need to take this. Maya stepped into the hallway. Marcus, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Something's very right. Rashid is stateside. He flew in this morning and he's requesting to meet you. Today, if possible. Maya felt emotion surge. He's really okay. Shaken up but alive. The extraction was close. Hostiles had tracked him to a safe house. We got him out with less than an hour to spare. Where is he? Arlington, at a secure facility. I can have a car pick you up in 20 minutes if you're available. Maya looked back through the office window at Patterson, Richards, and Davis still discussing her future. I'll be ready. She returned to the office. Sirs, I need to leave. One of my assets from Jakarta is here and requesting to meet. Patterson nodded. Go. We'll continue this conversation tomorrow. But Chen, think about what I said. Think about what kind of impact you could have in a leadership role. Yes, sir. The car arrived exactly 20 minutes later. Maya rode in silence, processing everything. The testimony Morrison's attacks, Patterson's offer, Tyler's courage. Her entire world had been dismantled and was being reconstructed into something she didn't fully recognize yet. The facility in Arlington was unmarked anonymous. Maya was escorted through security checkpoints to a small meeting room where Rashid waited. He looked older than she remembered, thinner with shadows under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and close calls. When he saw Maya, his face broke into a relieved smile. Falcon 7. I wasn't sure I'd see you again. Rashid. Maya crossed the room and hugged him, protocol be damned. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No. He pulled back his hands on her shoulders. This is the fault of people who cannot accept that women are as capable as men. You did nothing wrong. I compromised your cover. I compromised everything. You defended yourself. That is not a crime, though some would make it one. Rashid sat down, gesturing for Maya to join him. When I heard what happened when I saw the videos, I thought this woman saved my life 3 times in operations we conducted together. Of course she could handle 4 arrogant boys. Maya felt tears threatening. I thought you were dead. For hours I thought I'd gotten you killed. I am difficult to kill. You know this. His smile faded. But yes, it was close. They traced me through facial recognition that connected you to our operation in Seoul. Once they made that connection, my cover collapsed within hours. How did you escape? Your people moved fast. Marcus had extraction teams in position before I even knew I was compromised. They got me out through a route I didn't know existed. Rashid leaned back. I am grateful. But I am also finished as an intelligence asset. My face is now in every database. I cannot return to that work. What will you do? The Americans have offered me citizenship, a new identity, a quiet life. It is more than many receive. He studied her face. But you, Falcon 7, your struggle is just beginning. They will not forgive you for being excellent while female. I'm starting to understand that. What will you do? Maya told him about Patterson's offer, about the special advisor position, about her uncertainty over accepting a role that felt like surrender. Rashid listened carefully. When she finished, he spoke slowly, choosing his words with precision. In Jakarta, I worked for you because I believed in the mission, but also because you treated me with respect. You valued my knowledge, my risks, my humanity. Many operators did not. To them, I was a tool to be used and discarded. You made me feel like a partner. You were a partner. Yes, and now you have the opportunity to be that for hundreds, thousands of women who want to serve but face the same prejudices you've endured. You can teach leaders how to value female soldiers. You can change culture from a position of influence. He smiled. That is not surrender, Maya. That is evolution. The words settled something in her. Maya had been viewing the advisor role as a consolation prize, a participation trophy for a career cut short. But maybe it was something more, a chance to impact the military in ways fieldwork never could. Her phone buzzed. A news alert: Congressman Morrison announces he will not seek re-election. In a stunning reversal, Morrison cited personal family matters and the need to focus on healing relationships with my son. Maya showed Rashid the alert. He laughed. Tyler Morrison destroyed his father's career to defend you. That boy has more courage than his father ever possessed. Another alert. 4 recruits from mess hall incident issue public apology. The video showed Brad, Rico, and Kevin standing together, Tyler joining via video call from his secure location. Brad spoke first, his voice shaking slightly. We were wrong. We surrounded Maya Chen. We harassed her. We put hands on her. Everything she did was self-defense. We're ashamed of our actions and we accept full responsibility. And Rico added, we were taught in basic training to respect all soldiers regardless of gender. We failed to live those values. We're sorry. Kevin looked directly at the camera. I should have stopped my friends. I knew what we were doing was wrong, but I was too afraid to speak up. That cowardice is on me. Finally, Tyler. Maya Chen is everything a soldier should be: professional, disciplined, skilled. She's a hero. We were bullies. That's the truth, no matter what my father says. Maya watched the video twice, feeling something shift. These weren't the same arrogant boys from the mess hall. They'd been broken down and rebuilt, forced to confront their own failures. It didn't erase what they'd done, but it showed they were capable of growth. Rashid stood. I should go. They're moving me to a relocation facility tomorrow to begin the citizenship process. But I wanted to see you first, to thank you for everything, and to tell you that whatever path you choose next, you will excel. That is who you are. They embraced again. Maya held on for an extra moment, saying goodbye to this chapter of her life, the operations, the assets, the shadow work that had defined her for years. Be well, Rashid. You too, Falcon 7. Though I suppose you need a new call sign now that everyone knows your name. Maya smiled. I suppose I do. After Rashid left, Maya sat alone in the meeting room. Her phone kept buzzing messages of support interview requests, opportunities she'd never imagined. She ignored them all and called her mother. Maya, I've been watching everything. The testimony was incredible. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. Are you okay? Really okay? Maya thought about the question. Was she okay? Her operational career was over. She'd been attacked, threatened, interrogated, and put on trial in the court of public opinion. But she'd also discovered reserves of strength she hadn't known existed. She'd inspired people. She'd changed minds. She'd sparked conversations that desperately needed to happen. I'm going to be okay, Maya said. It might take time, but I'll get there. What happens next? I think I'm going to take a job I never wanted and try to make it into something that matters. That sounds like my daughter turning obstacles into opportunities. They talked for another 10 minutes about family, about Maya's sister, who'd become a celebrity at school, about her father's relief that the bounty had been canceled. Normal things, grounding things. When Maya hung up, she texted Patterson. I'll take the advisor position. When do I start? His response came immediately Monday. Welcome to your new mission. Maya stood and walked to the window. Washington, D.C. spread out before her, the monuments and buildings representing power, history, possibility. She was about to become part of that machinery, using her story to change policy and culture. It wasn't what she'd planned. It wasn't what she'd trained for. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the best missions were the ones you never saw coming. 3 days later, Maya stood at a podium at the Naval Academy facing 200 female midshipmen. This was her first official appearance as special advisor on women in combat. 3 weeks ago, she began. I was eating breakfast in a mess hall when 4 men decided I didn't belong there. They were wrong about me, but more importantly, they were wrong about what women are capable of achieving in military service. The audience was silent, attentive. I'm not here to tell you this will be easy. You will face discrimination. You will be underestimated. You will work twice as hard for half the recognition. But you will also prove over and over again that excellence has no gender. A young midshipman raised her hand. Ma'am, do you regret what happened? Do you wish you'd handled it differently? Maya considered the question. I regret that 4 young men thought harassment was acceptable. I regret that my defensive actions compromised important operations. I regret the chaos that followed, but I don't regret standing up for myself. And I never want any of you to regret defending your right to serve with dignity. The room erupted in applause. After the speech, Maya met with a dozen female midshipmen individually. They shared stories of harassment, discrimination, doubt. She listened to each one, offered advice, validated their experiences. The last meeting was with a first-year midshipman named Jessica, who'd been told by her male classmates that women would never be SEALs. They say it's just biology, Jessica said, frustrated. That we're not strong enough, not fast enough, not tough enough. Maya leaned forward. I'm 5'6" and weigh 130 pounds. I've completed missions that 90% of male soldiers couldn't handle. Biology is real, but it's not destiny. Training, discipline, and determination beat biology every single time. How do I prove that to them? You don't prove it to them, you prove it to yourself. Their opinions are irrelevant. Your performance is everything. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. You have no idea what it means to have someone like you showing us it's possible. Maya hugged her. It's more than possible. It's happening. You're part of the generation that's going to make women in special operations completely normal. That evening, Maya returned to her new quarters at Fort McNair. It was smaller than her previous spaces, less anonymous. But it was hers, and it represented a new chapter. Her phone buzzed. A message from Tyler Morrison. Started therapy today. Trying to become someone better than I was. Thank you for giving me the chance. Another from Brad. Volunteering with an organization that teaches respect and anti-harassment to new recruits, hoping to prevent others from making our mistakes. And one from Chief Davis. Saw your speech at the Academy on YouTube. You're going to change lives in this role. Proud to have witnessed the start of your journey. Maya set her phone down and looked at herself in the mirror. She saw a woman who'd been broken down and rebuilt stronger, who'd lost one mission but found another, who'd been forced into the spotlight and decided to use that visibility for something meaningful. The mess hall incident felt like it had happened years ago instead of weeks, but the consequences, both terrible and transformative, were still unfolding. Congressman Morrison had resigned. His son was rebuilding his life with courage and integrity. 4 recruits were learning to be better men. Rashid was safe in America. 14 operations had been salvaged with minimal losses, and Maya Chen had gone from shadow warrior to public advocate, from invisible operator to visible leader. She'd thought her career was over that morning in the secure room waiting for extraction, watching everything collapse. She'd been wrong. Her career hadn't ended. It had transformed into something bigger than covert operations and classified missions. She was going to change policy, shape culture, inspire the next generation of female warriors. She was going to make the military a place where women could serve without constantly fighting for the right to exist. It wasn't the life she'd planned, but it was the life she'd earned through 43 seconds of defending herself against men who thought her easy prey. They'd been wrong about her in every possible way, and she was going to spend the rest of her career making sure everyone understood just how wrong they'd been. not through violence or revenge, but through excellence leadership, and the undeniable truth that women belonged anywhere they had the courage and skill to stand. The mess hall had gone silent that morning, when Maya took down 4 attackers in less than a minute. But the silence that followed the national conversation, the political battles, the cultural reckoning that silence had been broken by her voice, her story, her refusal to be diminished. And she was just getting started.